Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are going to dive into what economics truly is. It's not just about money or finance or those blinking stock market tickers. We hear the word economy literally all the time, right? But its true essence? Well, it's basically the fabric of human behavior itself. So consider this question to kick things off. If you're out playing cricket with your friends on a Sunday afternoon, or, say, cooking a meal for your family, are you participating in the economy? Hmm. Keep that scenario tucked in the back of your mind. The answer might actually surprise you, and it honestly forms the bedrock of everything we're about to unpack today. Let's take a quick look at the roots. The word economics actually comes from two ancient Greek words. You've got oikos, which means household, and nomos, which means management. It is so fascinating when you think about it. I mean, this massive discipline that now dictates multi-trillion-dollar global trade policies. It started simply as a way to figure out how a single family manages their household with a strictly limited pool of resources. So here's our roadmap for today. First, defining the dismal science. Then, the evolution of economics, followed by micro and macroeconomics. And finally, we'll look at your daily economic activities. Section 1, defining the dismal science. It's kind of crazy, but for over a century, economists couldn't actually agree on what they were even studying. Moving on to Section 2, the evolution of economics. We can trace this evolution chronologically, and it really shows this brilliant expansion of human thought. The definition evolved dramatically over time. It's like a giant puzzle slowly coming together. Early thinkers, they really only cared about how nations got rich. But then, later minds realized, hey, money is just a tool for human welfare and happiness. That is, until the harsh reality of scarce resources took center stage. And finally, modern thinkers brought the whole shebang together into a dynamic, growth-oriented model. It really all kicked off in 1776 with Adam Smith. You probably know him as the father of economics. In his massive book, The Wealth of Nations, he had a very strict, material-focused view. To him, economics was literally just the science of wealth. Producing it, growing it, that was absolutely the sole subject matter. But then, later on, thinkers like Alfred Marshall shifted the focus. They argued that wealth is really just a means to human happiness. But wait, then Professor Lionel Robbins comes along and sharply disagrees. He points out this pretty harsh truth: human wants are totally unlimited, right? But our resources are scarce. And because those limited resources have alternative uses, he argued that economics isn't just about wealth. It's fundamentally the science of making choices. And then we get to John Maynard Keynes, who brilliantly zoomed way out. See, earlier economists were kind of obsessed with the individual, but Lord Keynes recognized that economic problems affect society as a massive, interconnected whole. So he shifted the entire focus to national aggregates, things like total consumption, total savings, and total investment. Which brings us to Section 3, micro and macroeconomics. This perfectly sets up how modern economics is applied today, split into two distinct lenses. Now, you might be wondering when we actually started using those terms. Well, while the concepts existed earlier, it wasn't until 1933 that Professor Ragnar Frisch officially gave us the vocabulary to separate the small scale from the large scale. He coined the terms microeconomics and macroeconomics, pulling again from Greek words meaning small and large. Think of microeconomics like using a magnifying glass. A good trick is to remember that the letter I in micro stands for individuals. It studies the behavior of really small economic units, like your household or a specific firm making a business decision. Macroeconomics, on the other hand, is more like grabbing a pair of binoculars to see the big national picture. It focuses entirely on aggregate changes in the overall economy. So, the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that micro deals with things like consumer equilibrium, your individual income, and the price of a specific product. It's all about how you allocate your personal budget. Macro, though, tackles the big aggregates. We're talking national income, overall unemployment rates, inflation, and GDP. Basically, if micro is studying the market demand for a single apple at your local grocery store, macro is studying the aggregate output of all goods and services produced in the entire country. All right, Section 4, your daily economic activities. Let's see how all this lofty theory actually builds into your everyday routine. Because, human life is just full of activities, right? Broadly speaking, any activity meant to satisfy a want falls into one of four steps. First, it starts with production. Think of a farmer growing wheat. Then comes distribution, which is dividing the wealth among everyone who helped produce it. That leads directly to exchange, all the buying and selling you see in the market. And finally, the last step is consumption, where we, the households, actually use those goods. But here's where we really need to draw a hard line, because not everything you do is part of the economy. The ultimate dividing line here is your motive. Are you doing an activity for monetary gain or for your livelihood? If so, yep, that's an economic activity. But are you doing it solely for personal satisfaction? Out of love, affection, sympathy, maybe patriotism? Well, those are strictly classified as non-economic activities. They don't have a monetary measurement, and they aren't producing anything for the market.
Consider a couple of everyday examples. A doctor treating a patient in a hospital for a fee, for sure, that's an economic activity. But if that exact same doctor goes home and treats their own child out of love, that is entirely non-economic. Or think about a chef cooking at a fancy hotel versus a mother cooking dinner for her family. The physical action is literally identical, but the motive completely changes how we classify it.
So going all the way back to that question I asked you at the very beginning, playing cricket for fun with your friends on a Sunday, totally non-economic. But when a professional athlete steps onto that same pitch for a league salary, that exact same game magically transforms into a measurable economic activity. Income generation is absolutely the key here. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to take a hard look at your own day. Really examine your routine. Think about all those choices you make with your intensely limited time and resources. Where exactly does your participation in the economy end, and where does pure, non-quantifiable joy begin? Is there a line, or does it all blur together? It's a profound new lens to view your life through, isn't it? Something to think about.